Welcome to the Dynamis podcast this week, guys. We have an incredibly special guest on the show today, and I think you're really going to appreciate the knowledge, the wisdom, and the insight of what this man is going to share. It is my pleasure to welcome Matt King into the Dynamis studio this week.
Thanks, Tim, man. I'm honored to be with you. Finally got this recording scheduled, and we're able to keep it in the calendar, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you too. And you know, Matt, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I know that this is truly an act of service for you. Your time is by far the most precious resource. And I know you don't have a ton of it to spare, and it's incredibly meaningful that you're here with us today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. For everybody listening out there, for the audience, for those of you who don't know, Matt has a storied resume that is very impressive. My first impression of Matt was on a GoBundance call called Navigating Stormy Water, where an investor named David Osborne was being interviewed. Now, David had Matt on the call, and you know, David Osborne is this kind of like has this big presence in this community. He's a successful investor. He's got a lot going on. People want to talk to him. But what I immediately noticed in that call was Matt. I was just instantly drawn to Matt's presence. I was captured, Matt, by your presence, your confidence. And right there, I thought to myself, who the heck is this guy? I want to know more about you and your story. And you have a storied resume, you know, and not to just put you on a sheet of paper, but in a couple bullet points. You know, you're a successful husband, a father, a friend, an entrepreneur, an investor, and you've recently become the CEO of GoBundance. Your plate is full of incredibly high-level activities, and I'm not sure how you do it all. But as impressive as your resume is today, this podcast is all about the journey. It's about growth. It's about falling down and getting back up. It's about punching above your weight class. And I want to kind of get into a time machine today and travel back a few years to the Matt that dropped out of college, went all in on a t-shirt business, put all the chips on the table, bet on himself, on your future, on you. I want to talk to that Matt today.
Okay. Well, the good news for you, man, is that Matt is still the same Matt I am today. Like, one of the things that I've made a commitment to myself of is never to lose who I am through this process. And I think like that's very cliche of people to say, and it is cliche, but it also is very hard to remain that same person you are as you continue to get busier, as you continue to achieve success, as you continue to do different things in life. It's hard to remember where you came from. It's hard to remain grounded in your beliefs and the reasons like you do what you do. Fortunately for me, I have an incredible wife. I have incredible parents. I have incredible in-laws that keep me grounded, hold me accountable, call me out on my BS. You know, I'm just very fortunate to be where I'm at today. You know, the Matt that dropped out of college, the Matt that bet on himself, you know, I've always had this belief that I would find the way or make the way. Like, life is all about choice, and life is all about awareness. And I've used my awareness to continue to make different choices. And by making different choices, I've become aware of different things. And so for me, it's always been about like, does that thing give me energy? Does that fulfill me? How does it feel? And I'm really kind of like a gut guy. I follow my intuition less than my head. So even when it comes down to analysis on an investment opportunity, there's people that can build incredible spreadsheets. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that can build incredible spreadsheets. I can build a spreadsheet basic enough to give me some rough ideas of how the numbers will work. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do I feel about this investment? Do I like the market? Do I like the person that brought it to me? Do I trust this neighborhood? Do I trust the asset? Do I trust the builder? You know, all of those things, like, how does that feel from an intuitive perspective? And ultimately, I try to follow my gut more than I try to follow my head because it served me throughout my life.
Where do you think that comes from? Like, was that behavior modeled to you? Did you have someone that you looked up to? You know, I think like as we become men, as we get older in life, we kind of collect this Rolodex of snapshots of people we look up to, we aspire to be like. And as we grow into adulthood out of adolescence, we put all of that together and it forms an image of who we want to be as men. You know, maybe your Uncle John was really good at carpentry, and maybe, you know, Grandpa Bob was a great husband. Where did that come from? How did you learn to trust your gut so fully at such a young age? When do you feel like that started to develop?
You know, I think for me, it was athletics was a big thing. Like, you know, my dad has always been a big role model in my life, and both of my grandfathers who have now passed away were very big role models in my life. But also a huge role model for me in my life was my grandmother. And she's still alive today. I think she's about 85, 86. She was a very analytical, or she still is a very analytical, very like detail-oriented human. But I watched the way that she lived her life, and I was always inspired by just like the way she showed up. With my dad, I've always been inspired by the way he showed up to like win, like competition. He's very competitive, was very competitive, still sort of is, but as you get older, you lose a little bit of that competitive fire. My dad is super, super detail oriented. So he's the guy who sits down with the legal pad before a vacation and writes down his packing list. I'm the kind of guy that like the morning of a trip, I'm throwing stuff in a bag and I'm just out the door and I'm going. But for me, I think it was athletics. I think athletics are what taught me to follow my intuition and trust my gut. So played a very high level of soccer growing up, played a very high level of wrestling, or wrestled at a very high level. And both of those sports, I think, are very intuitive, and you have to trust your instincts. Now, for soccer, I was the goalkeeper. So, again, that's a thing where, like, you don't know where the ball's going to go. You don't know where the deflection's going to go. You don't know which way they're going to kick the penalty kick. You just have to trust your gut and look back on all of the experiences you've had over a lifetime to try to triangulate the way you're going to handle this next solution. Similar with wrestling, like, it's a very, like, intuitive thing. Like, you just kind of like let things flow and understand, like, as I get in situations, I'm going to be able to use what I've experienced in the past to help me get out of what I'm experiencing now, or going to use what I've experienced in the past to help me navigate the future. And I think competing at a high level in both of those things, like, taught me to listen to my intuition and taught me how to use past experiences to help triangulate my decisions, which, I'm labeling as intuition, but ultimately it's awareness, and it's experiences that have shaped my life.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's not necessarily that you're just blindly guessing. You've built in a large data set that you could draw on of lived experience of like, hey, this is my intuition. This is what my wisdom is telling me. This is what my experience is telling me. So I think that's a great way to frame what you're saying. And you started training yourself to do that very young. And man, how powerful is that sports led to like such exponential growth in your life and confidence and trusting yourself? Because ultimately, like, you have one thing that strikes me about you is just your supreme level of confidence. And I kind of want to get into this later in regards to GoBundance, but I mean, I'm continuously blown away watching you walk into a room of high net worth individuals that you started at the bottom of and commanding the entire room as the leader, as the CEO. And every time I watch you, I ask myself, where does he get that from? Where do you get that strength and confidence to just walk in there and take charge of an organization that, you started as, an outsider in?
Yeah. For me, man, it's just about comfort in my own skin. Like, I just have this comfort and this acceptance of who I am. And I'm not seeking to be liked. I'm not seeking to be loved by every single person I come in contact with. All I'm seeking and all I'm committing to is to try to be of value to everybody I come in contact with. And I think when you come from a place of servant mindedness, or you come from a place of like wanting to help others be the best versions of themselves, it's very, very easy to show up as your true authentic self and to have, this illusion of confidence. Now, to say that I walk into every room the way you described me feeling would be awesome. Like, I'd love to say that. You still have doubts, you still have fears, you still have all these limiting beliefs, you still have all these like little noises in your head that say like, who am I to be on this stage with all of these people? Like, who am I to be on this Zoom call? Who am I to do this? But David Osborne taught me, like, there's also this saying, like, why not me? Somebody's going to be on the stage, so why can't it be me? Somebody's going to be leading a Zoom call, so why can't it be me? Somebody's going to have a beautiful family, so why can't it be me? And I've really, over the last 7 years, adopted that saying in almost everything I do. Like, someone's got to get a hole in one. Why not me? Now, I still don't have a hole in one, but every time I get to the par three, I'm like, well, why not me? Hit it. Still, most of the time miss the green. But I have this like thing that I just kind of go like, why not me? Somebody's going to do it, so why not me? And then again, when you just show up as your true authentic self, it's very easy to come off confident because it's just you. It's who you are. It's natural. And so that's how I show up to, or try to show up to everything I do. Now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. But whether it's Donuts with Dads, which I got to do with my daughter on Thursday morning, or it's the GoBundance Tahoe event, which will be at the end of January with 240 entrepreneurs, like, I just put on my jeans the same way anybody puts on their jeans. I put on my shirt the same way Bill Gates puts on his shirt. I show up as myself. I try to be my true authentic self and be of service and be of value to anybody I come in contact with, and trust everything else will take care of itself.
Well, I think that you do an exceptional job at that. And I think like we could all look to you as an example of putting yourself in that uncomfortable position and showing up for yourself. You know, every time you show up for yourself and you're a little bit uncomfortable and you accomplish that task, you're building your confidence. You're proving to yourself that you are a person who does what they say they're going to do, who is successful. And man, how important is it to put yourself in that zone of discomfort and show up for yourself? Like, what does that do, you know, psychologically for your confidence? You know, look at you, look at your track record. If you just keep doing it and don't stop, next thing you know, here you have all this evidence of winning because you're a winner.
Yeah, look, man, I mean, if you compare my resume to yours, I'm a coward. Like, I didn't have the balls to go fight for our country and to defend our freedom. I've never had the balls to run into a burning building that's on fire and try to save people that were helpless, essentially. I've never put myself in a position where I was marrying somebody who's lost a loved one and adopted her kids. Like, you know, my resume compared to yours looks like pitiful. Like, I've never put myself in that crazy of situations. But I have continued to strive to put myself in a position that makes myself uncomfortable because I know that's where the growth can occur. And you've experienced that in the military. You've experienced that firefighting. That first mission that you got deployed on, that first fire you went into, you were scared shitless, but the second one was a little less scary. And the third one was a little less scary. And you find the confidence in your knowledge and your experiences to let the fear just subside and let your intuition take over. So I do everything annually to challenge myself. Last year, I rode a bull. So, I mean, well, it'd be 2 years ago now, but in 2021, I said, I'm going to ride a bull. And everybody's like, why are you going to ride a bull? Like, you're going to ride a mechanical bull? I'm like, no. I live in Texas now. I'm riding a real bull. Like, I'm getting on a real bull and I'm riding a bull. And people said, well, why would you ride a bull? I'm like, because if I'm sitting on a 2-ton animal or however much they weigh, feeling its heartbeat and its adrenaline pump through the body, and its only goal is to get me off its back and clobber me, a business deal where we're negotiating over $1,500 is going to seem irrelevant. A lease where there's a personal guarantee is going to seem irrelevant because I've got this animal that literally wants to kill me. And so I rode the bull, did it so that when I felt that nerves and I felt that anxiety, which life throws at you almost on a daily basis, I knew I had the confidence to override it and continue to choose what I wanted for my life.
Did you always have that confidence to make yourself uncomfortable? I mean, let's talk to the Matt who, like right now, you have this Rolodex of experiences where you're like, I am familiar with this feeling. I know what this feels like, but at the other side, I know what that fruit looks like. What about Matt who were you always that way? Or was there a period in your life where you really had to push yourself into that discomfort zone?
I still have to push myself into that discomfort zone. It's still scary. It's still the same way as it was when I was 12 years old trying to learn how to jump off of stairs on a skateboard with my best friend Corby. Like, looking back, that was like the stupidest decision I could have ever made. Like, who am I to jump off 4 stairs on a skateboard I can barely ride on level surfaces? But like, everybody was doing it and it was scary. So I was like, cool, if it's scary, I'm going to do it. Still today have the same fears. Like, the same fear kicked in when I got on the bull. The same fear kicked in when we arrived at the ranch to ride the bull. The same fear is going to kick in this year when I go to do 29.029, which is an Everesting challenge. Like, all of those fears are going to continue to kick in and they will never go away. If they go away, that's when I know like I've become numb and that there's something seriously wrong with me. It's like when Aaron Rodgers steps on the football field, if he's not getting nervous, it's because he doesn't care anymore.
Exactly.
If Tiger Woods isn't nervous over that 4-foot putt, it's because he doesn't care anymore. Like, you just find a way to let the nerves subside and override the nerves to continue to make the choices you want. And I think like I've always been sort of that kid, but it was more of that kid when I was younger from a dumb, what's possible, like let's have fun perspective, which I'm grateful for today because now it's like, I can channel that same energy to overcome my fears. But it's still not easy to like sit on a bull. It's still not easy to want to jump out of an airplane. It's still not easy to want to hike up and down a mountain 17 times within a 36-hour period to say I hiked the same elevation as Everest. Like, that stuff, it's still not easy to choose it, but I know that there's power after the choice that I'm excited by.
And I think like this is something that GoBundance does so well. This one thing that you're talking about right here is what makes GoBundance such a special organization is that this extreme accountability aspect plus bucket list, right? Like this living this epic life. When you put those things together and you get it in a room of concentrated individuals who are like dedicated to pushing you to the next level, I think like that one ingredient is what makes GoBundance so successful. It's so good at all the members just pushing each other into this discomfort zone and challenging them, encouraging them, betting on them. And each time we get into that zone and we're uncomfortable, this crazy thing happens where boom, we're reborn. There's this metamorphosis into like the next most powerful version of ourselves. And I think like that's something so special about the culture of GoBundance. And specifically, you talked about fear. And I just want to touch on fear from like a firefighter military perspective. Fear is a good thing. You know, fear is a good thing. You shouldn't let fear control you. But just like how you said, Aaron Rodgers shouldn't step on the football field if he's not a little bit nervous. You know, when I'm in a stack and we're about to blow a door charge and flow into a room full of terrorists, you know, I feel some level of fear, but it's controlling that fear and using it to make you sharper, to make you better at your job. You know, do you really want to be next to somebody who has no fear at all in that situation, no regard for their life, let alone your own? And that's why, you know, I think people need to get comfortable getting a little uncomfortable and realizing like it's okay to be a little scared, but you cannot let it paralyze you.
Absolutely. I think fear is a natural response to the body to protect us. Nobody wants to get hurt. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants their feelings hurt. So what is fear doing? It's trying to protect you from those things. Like my 3.5-year-old, she's about to go to her first dance class on Saturday. And she said, I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm like, awesome. I'm excited you're nervous because that means you care. I'm like, that's good. Nerves are good. Let's sit with it. This is awesome. And she's like, will you come with me? I'm like, absolutely, I'll go with you. She's like, but Dad, you won't wear a dress. I'm like, the heck I won't. I'll wear a dress if you want me to wear a dress. Right? Because I'm trying to teach her, like, fear is good. It's okay to sit there. It's okay to feel it. What's not okay is to not choose because of it. You have to continue to make choices. And so, you know, I think you're spot on in saying, like, if you're in the trenches with somebody and that person next to you doesn't have fear, like that would be the worst thing that could happen, because they'll start to make decisions based off of just like, I don't care. And when people say I don't care or I can't, like it's over. Like the game can stop. You don't have to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know like you're a dad, I'm a dad. And, you know, the reason I make myself uncomfortable every day, the reason I put myself in rooms that I am uncomfortable in is because my kids are like first and foremost, the most important thing in my life, my wife, my kids, my family. And something that I notice with a lot of my kids' friends is that all of them feel like they should be comfortable all the time. The room temperature has to be perfect temperature. They have to have their food exactly the way they like it. And at any moment of like adversity, like at any just, opposition at all for their comfortable life, it's like I watch kids crumble constantly. And one of the most important lessons that I'm just trying to instill in my kids day in and day out is like, hey, it's okay to be a little uncomfortable. This is where we grow. And I love hearing you say that about your daughter, because I think like looking behind us at the generation coming up, that's probably one of the biggest legacies we could leave, is a generation of children who know how to struggle a little bit and endure.
I think that's very well said. And I think we in today's society have steered away from celebrating failure and celebrating adversity, and it is now almost frowned upon. And I can guarantee you, without failure, without celebration of failure, without appreciation of the failure from the people closest to me growing up, I would not be where I am. Because every day I walk out the door, I fail at something. Maybe I fail at doing a deal. Maybe I fail at calling somebody back. Maybe I fail at answering an email timely. Maybe I fail at showing up when I told my daughter I'd be home at 5:30 and it's 5:32. Like every day I fail, but that doesn't stop me from choosing. And I also don't beat myself up over it. I go like, cool, we made a mistake. Did we make a mistake because we didn't want to do the task? If great, don't commit to that task again. So, right, awareness leads to choice. Did we make a mistake? How do we feel about it? Shoot, don't make that same mistake again. So, today I'll be home at 5:30 because yesterday it was 5:32 and she was sad. So you start to just use this awareness to power you, but you celebrate the fear, you enjoy it, you like almost yearn for it because you know that growth is on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you a few questions kind of like that led to the path that you are today. I know that we're on a tight time schedule, so I want to kind of set the stage a little bit. So you've said before that you've gotten really lucky, and that may be true. But winners, I fully believe, create their luck. And there had to be an explorer deep down inside of you that wanted to see how high you could fly early on. Now, I know that you've talked about working at a country club when you were in high school before, and there was a member there that made a comment to you, hey, there's a million ways to make $1 million. And that kind of moment changed your mindset. If you look back at your life, was that kind of the spark that lit the fuse to where you are today? Or was there something before that?
No, I don't think that I can never pinpoint one spark, but what I can do is I can pinpoint all these different times when people poured a little more gas on the fire, a little more gas on the fire, a little more gas on the fire. And that was one of them for me. There was a little bit more gas poured on the fire, and I saw like, oh, wow, like that's exciting. That's exhilarating. That's encouraging. I've tried a couple times to go back to like, where did it all come from or what really shaped it or whatever. But, for me, it was like, I think at 12, I wanted to order pizza, and my mom said, great, dropped the phone book on the table and said, order pizza. And like, I had to figure it out myself. And like, it was all those like little things over a lifetime. I remember when I was really young in Boy Scouts, I was learning how to whittle, and my dad's like, great, here's a knife, here's a stick. And I'm sitting in the garage, sliced the crap out of my finger and had to go to the hospital and get stitches. And, my dad gave me an opportunity to try something that I probably shouldn't have been trying by myself. But it showed me like, if you want something, go out there and get it. You're going to make a mistake, but you're going to persevere. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep, living. And so I can't pinpoint one single thing, but I can pinpoint all these little like opportunities where people poured a little gas on the fire and helped it get bigger, helped it get bigger, helped it get bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you also have a very unique perspective. Like here you are in college and you're paying tuition, going to class, and it dawns on you like, wow, why am I going to class to learn how to make money when I could go out, start a t-shirt company and make my own money? What was the thought process there? You're in your, what are you, I guess, late teens, early 20s. Like, was there a lot of thought that you put into that? Or was it just the most logical option to you?
It's probably going to break my mom's heart. There was like no thought. It was just like, boom, awareness. I can print these shirts and make money, or I can go to this class and pay money. Like, I'm just going to choose the shirts and drop out of school. Like, it wasn't like this well thought out, well calculated plan. Like, again, I'm kind of a person that's followed my intuition. And so it was like awareness pops in my head. I make a choice by it. And then now I get to live with the results of that choice. I dropped out of school. Guess what? My parents weren't super thrilled. My grandmother wasn't super thrilled. I think both of them still give me some crap from time to time. Like, you think you'll go back? You think you'll go back? You should do it for your daughter. You should do it for your son. But at the end of the day, like, I knew that the choice I made was my choice to make, but I had to sit and accept any of the results that came with it. I'm not a victim. I'm not, my mom made me, my dad made me, they wouldn't let me, they wouldn't this. It was like, boom, I just have to make this decision and I'm going to sit with it. There was no real thought, which is like crazy to say looking backwards, but it was just like a gut reaction and a choice.
You hit the nail right on the head. Like, you are not a victim. You're responsible for the results of your choices. And I think like that is probably the most powerful thing that you said. And that's something that I preach to my children. Like, you are not a victim. Take charge of your life. Choose your life. I tell my kids all the time, like, son, you don't have to go to college. Here's the pros. Here's the cons. Don't be forced into a system just because you feel like everybody in society is telling you need to do this thing. Ask yourself, is this really the right thing for you? And can you be productive? Now, that doesn't mean sit on your ass and eat Cheetos on the couch. Like, you got to put your work boots on, but there's just another way. And I think the system that we live in is so old and antiquated, and it just takes so long to kind of move the needle because so many people are just so cemented into this is the way we have to do things because we've always done them this way.
Yeah. And look, Tim, I don't blame those people. They've never seen another possibility. Like, it's not their fault. They're just doing what they were taught. They're just doing what they experienced. They're just doing however they were raised and the stories that they were programmed with. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by incredible people at the country club, incredible people inside of my family, incredible parents, an incredible sister, incredible people like David Osborne, Pat Hyben, GoBundance members, to understand that there's a different narrative that I can live by. Like, there's a different script that I can follow, that I can achieve whatever I want in my life that is different than the one I was aware of growing up. And so, like, I don't fault them. I don't blame them. As a matter of fact, I try to help show all of those people that are, like, as you said, cemented into that way of thinking, like, there is another possibility. And if they want to see that, it's up to them to choose it. If they don't want to see that, it's up to them to choose it. It's totally their choice. But it's not, I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just like our opportunity as people who have seen a different script to pour into those people and try to show them like, hey, there's another way to achieve the same goal that may be more interesting to you. It may not, and that's your choice, but this might be more interesting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the mission that we're on here, is to like bring these opportunities and options to as many people as possible, to give them the ability to choose their life, to have freedom. All right. I want to wrap up with a couple questions here. You have this really unique experience that not a lot of people have. And that's, you've spent years working with high-level people. And I'm sure that you've noticed themes over the years. They say that success leaves clues. So can you articulate what's the biggest theme that you've noticed over all these years working with all these successful individuals?
Highly successful people have an agenda for their day, an agenda for their week, an agenda for their month, an agenda for their year, an agenda for their 5 years, which ultimately is an agenda for their life. Like highly motivated, highly successful, hard-charging humans have an agenda and they follow their agenda. I was working for Pat Hyben about 9 years ago, and he said I was going to go to this mastermind coaching session with one of his best friends, David Osborne. I was like, okay, cool. I dropped out of school. The last thing I want to do is sit in a training for 6 hours, but I'm in. I go to this training, and this incredible human, David Osborne, starts talking. And, I remember listening to him like, I'm interested. And then he starts talking about goals. And because of my old programming, I was like, I already know about goals. Like, I'm a successful athlete. I understood what I wanted to do. I understood how to set a goal. I understood how to accomplish it. And so I felt my mind sort of drift away for a minute. And then all of a sudden, he holds up this purple journal and my mind keeps drifting. And then all of a sudden he flashes this vision board up on the screen. And somebody and he goes, this was my vision board. And he keeps talking fast. And somebody like, time out. Wait, let me ask you a question. Why was that your vision board? He's like, because everything in that came true. So my wife's creating a new vision board for me. And it was like a beautiful, epic life. Like anything you could imagine, like it was in this vision board and it had all come true. And all of a sudden, like instantly, my intuition said, like, buy Purple Journal, have a vision for your life, and like, follow this path. Like you said, success leaves clues. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Here's a man who just showed me, here's how to go from a C student to living the life that you want and flying any way you want to fly, traveling anywhere you want to live, and living a life of freedom. And he just gave me the blueprint. Set goals, have an agenda for my day, have an agenda for my week, have an agenda for my month, which leads to my year, which leads to 5 years, which leads to my life, and just follow it. Like, that's all I got to do. And I was like, wow, that's going to be easy. So I rewrote my 5-year vision. I go and volunteer at one GoBundance event because Pat and David are founders. And, Pat's like, you're going to go volunteer at this mastermind. I didn't even know what a mastermind was, Tim. Like, I had to Google on the old iPhone, like, what is a mastermind? And I'm like, okay, this will be fun. Well, I've slept on a couch. I worked 14-hour days. But guess what? I was around amazing people. I was around Rock Thomas, David Osborne, Dan Grieve, Ricky Williams, like all these incredible humans. And when I had the opportunity to put myself in their presence, I did so in a servant-based way. So David and Rock happened to know that I loved golf. So they're like, do you want to play with us? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to play with you guys, but can I caddy? And like people say to me like, well, why would you caddy? You had the opportunity to play this incredible golf course with these really cool guys. Why didn't you play? I'm like, because if I was going to play, I'd be caught up in my stories. I wanted to get caught up in theirs. So I stood on the back of their golf cart for 4.5 hours. I raked their bunkers. I handed them their putters. I pulled out the pin, but I was able to absorb everything they were talking about for that whole entire day. And what I learned was successful people have an agenda for their lives.
That's incredible. And the servitude aspect of that as well. Like you're more concerned about giving than receiving. And there's science, there's actual data that supports that people who are minded in that way create teams that have exponential and unmeasured growth potential. They just explode into the outer atmosphere. And you nailed it. Be servant minded. Give.
Well, in any religion, in anything you believe in, whether it's God, the universe, energy, Gandhi, Buddha, whatever you believe in, there's not a single theory that if you give, bad things will happen to you that I found. Maybe somebody on this podcast will prove us wrong and send me something where like this religion says do not give or you shall suffer. But I haven't found a single thing in my life that says when you give, bad things will happen. And I've experienced it firsthand, like regardless of what the end outcome is, when you give, positive things show up, whether it's feelings, whether it's emotions, whether it's experiences, whether it's financial, whether it's like changing somebody's destiny. It doesn't matter. Good things come back to you when you give. And so I just constantly try to live with that mindset and constantly try to show up as that person everywhere I go.
Matt, I was going to ask you, what was the biggest mind shift that mindset shift that led to your success, but I think you just knocked that one out of the park. So why don't we wrap up with one last question? And that is, what's more important, the will to win and the faith to press on, or the ability and know-how to get it done?
That's a great question. I think it's the will, man. I think if Ben Hardy wrote a book that willpower doesn't work, but I think if you have the will, you'll find the way. And I've had this saying in my life that, I'll find the way or make the way. And I think without the will, without the desire, you don't find the way, you don't make the way. So I think it's will, man. I think you can find it inside of yourself to accomplish and do great things if you really want it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think just having like unrelenting faith in yourself with, the seed of purpose. There has to be a purpose of why you have the faith, why you're willing to sacrifice and endure. And I think those things in combination, man, watch out.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between unrelenting and delusional. Like there's the delusional faith and there's the unrelenting faith. And I think as long as you have the unrelenting faith and have really great peers around you that hold you accountable and don't let you get to the delusional faith, like, talking to a kid the other day who was applying for a position, and I said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, this is a kid that just got laid off. He's 2 years removed from college, and he's looking for a job. He goes, I'm going to be retired in 5 years. Like, okay, so who am I to tell him he won't be retired? But I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more. Like, well, I put some money in some Bitcoin things and some different wallets, and I really think now is the greatest opportunity, and I think in 5 years it's going to go to the moon. I'm like, to me, that's delusional. That's putting your faith in someone else's hands that you have no control over. Now, if he said, I'm going to work 60 hours a week, I'm going to look for investments, I'm going to hit 62 investments in the next 3 years, that's going to lead to financial freedom, which will allow me to be retired, and he had a crystal clear plan, I'd be like, that dude's got it. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
And that to me is non-delusional. That to me is like a plan.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely true. Yeah, like making a well-articulated plan and then actioning that plan. Yeah. Matt, you have given some incredible nuggets on this episode. It went in a direction that I totally was not even expecting it to go, but I just think the value was so good. And I just thank you so much for showing up today. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you around at other GoBundance events.
Yeah, Tim, thank you so much for having me. Honored to be with you, honored to be with your crew. And if I can do anything to help people, just please feel free to reach out and keep making a difference in the world, Tim. I appreciate you.
All right, guys, as always, I'm here to help you grow and win in any cycle and get to the next level. Catch you guys next week.